and I'm bringing company. And that was how I facilitated with the BLM to say, you know, you need to actually not from a computer in Taos see what's on the land. Your ID team, your wildlife biologist, your natural resource person, your water person, everybody has to go actually onto the parcel because they hadn't set foot on the parcel. And so in August, over the course of 3 days, Andrew Martinez and I went out to each parcel. We sought permission from each of the landowners for the Taos BLM to be there. And what came out of those 3 days of work is each one of the parcels we were able to identify all the wildlife, all the resource that could possibly be impacted should energy development happen in that area. And so all those, they're in this document and it's available to you, and I believe I shared it with management. But riparian areas, soils, habitat, you name it, all that is taken into homes, dwellings, cultural sites, churches, cemeteries, historic trails, all those things are taken into consideration at any time the federal government goes forward with a project. And so we made sure that we collected good data. We need the science to know what's on the ground before we start proposing a lease sale. And so with that effort, that led us to the next step, which would be the environmental assessment that needed to take place. And the first step in the environmental assessment was to have a public scoping period. Not like the one they had done in October of 2012 and said it's coming upon you, comment, and then we'll move forward with the sale. This actually was an effort to engage with the community and tell them they have a right to comment, and their issues came forward, and the issues were vast. They ranged from noise, what it would do to the value of the property, groundwater was probably, and water was probably the most glaring concern across the board between all stakeholders. And so the public scoping period was kicked off December 3rd in the Cebolla Community Center by the meeting hosted by the Taos BLM. We were present, and at that point, Taos BLM opened it up to the public. There were no less than 70 people at that meeting as well, and asked and told the community of their intentions. The parcels were nominated. That still remains unknown who nominated them because that's a public thing. And they had an opportunity to, in writing, respond to the BLM and address any concerns they had. And so that public scoping period, a lot of people felt was too short. So it got extended 15 days, and it ended on January 4th, 2014. So we come back the week of January 13 in their planning office, and the Taos planning team decided we're going to sit down and we're going to meet to review all the public comments that came in. I discussed with Brad Higdon, the Taos planner for the Taos field office on this project. He explains to me that over 200 comments came in from the public regarding this oil and gas lease sale. One of the comments in particular was 70 pages long. So you can just imagine how inundated the Taos field office was with public comments, and they need to review and go through each one of those public comments to be able to evaluate what stipulations, if any, would be put on any particular parcel if the lease sale were to move forward in October 2014. With that being said, that meeting was canceled between the two of us. And BLM informed me last week that they had a meeting internally. And they called quite abruptly for a 15-minute conference call this week on Monday at 2 o'clock between us and their field staff and their ID team. And this is where we're at today, and the outcome of that 15-minute phone call with the BLM. The Bureau of Land Management, Taos Field Office, recognizes that they initiated the environmental review process to consider leasing those 16 parcels for oil and gas mineral development in eastern Arriba County. It's totaling about 13,300 acres of federal mineral estate underlying mixed service ownership in the vicinity of the community of Cebolla. But based on the initial assessment and best available information, BLM has decided to defer all 16 parcels from leasing in the October 2015 lease sale. And this decision follows an extensive information gathering effort by the BLM and its cooperators to understand the potential conflicts that could exist within each of those underlying parcels. So based on that uncertainty within the possible impacts for that mineral development, BLM recognizes that there could be potentially significant risks involved to offering those 16 parcels for lease. And so what the BLM is proposing to us is that those 16 lease parcels would be included in what's going on right now in the San Juan Basin. There's a plan right now in the BLM Farmington Field Office to study the geologic and hydrologic implications of the San Juan Basin. And what the Taos Field Office and the state BLM office has decided to do is include the area of Cebolla and those 16 parcels that are up for sale in the study of the San Juan Basin. And that'll end up going out for an RFP, and then both BLM and the county and all the stakeholders will know what mineral exists there, if any, and then what would be the plan to pursue energy development in downtown Cebolla. So that hydrologic and geologic study will be invaluable to us at the county for current planning and future planning as energy development, especially particularly in District 3, continues to encroach on watersheds, riparian areas, and where more of the population lives and depends on clean drinking water for the survival and the economy of the county. So, now that we have energy development moving out of where we normally had energy development, it's really going to be a great planning document that we can have to better plan where and what types of energy development can occur in our county. And so that hydrologic and geologic study is expected to take more than 2 years. And what will happen is it'll go out for RFP. And I did ask, well, who are the type of people that pick up those kinds of RFPs? And it was explained to me that places like New Mexico Tech do those kinds of studies. So it's likely that an institution like New Mexico Tech will pick up the RFP, and over a course of 2 years at a minimum, will begin the study. So, they need to make sure that the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, needs to be reassured that there's a feasible development scenario for extraction in that community before they just go and start poking holes, not knowing what the geologic and the hydrologic implications could be to the community. So BLM explains that the downside to this development for them is that it keeps everything in limbo. But for us, and what's exciting for me right now is that we've entered into mindful planning. We know what we can anticipate down the road. It gives us an opportunity to plan and prepare what we want, what direction we as a community would like to go in as far as energy development. And it gives us a chance to look at current ordinances and possibly make amendments as necessary. But it still remains the 16 parcels that are deferred, so they're in limbo. So at some point, the Taos BLM office has to make a decision on whether or not to lease the parcels, because they're publicly held. We are the public, and we can nominate them. So that is the latest. I have a letter I submitted to you on Monday electronically, and I have a copy here for you all.